You may be wondering why the cafe looks so cave-ish. Well, that's actually because this is my second cafe in the Hazy Maze Cave. This has always been one of my absolute favorite levels in Mario 64. Spelunking your way through these seemingly endless tunnels feels like a new experience every time. And my favorite part about it? It's not shifting sand land. I just love analyzing all of the details in each of this cavern's tunnels and chambers, but the further I look into this level, the stranger it gets. For example, this level isn't even a painting world. This is an actual cave under and around the castle, since if you're sucked down the river in the metal cavern, you get shot out at the top of the waterfall outside. If you read some signs, you'll start to understand that there's somebody working down here, or at least there was. These now vanished explorers are probably responsible for building these man-made objects. But there's something very concerning about some of these objects. Not all of them appear to have been made by those missing explorers. Something's going on here. If you pay close attention to textures and structures inside of Hazy Maze Cave, you'll notice some discrepancies. In a hazardous cave exploration, you expect to see stone and moss and boulders, as well as some man-made machinery like fences and elevators. But this level also includes some very strange artifacts that imply that those explorers may not have been alone down here. The truth about Hazy Maze Cave becomes very apparent when we check out this big room with the hole in the ground. You know, the one you try to long jump across and it never works. Well, the way that you're supposed to get across this room is by following this path. While they could have used a single texture to depict this path, there was a deliberate decision to use two. One of them is a metal scaffolding that's been sort of hobbled on to the other, much older looking stone floor. It's as if the later explorers came through this room and repaired what was left of some ancient floor. But why is there an ancient floor in a cave underneath the castle? This could only mean that there was at some point a civilization of cave-dwelling people living within Hazy Maze Cave. Here's what I think happened in this room. This group of cave people began constructing their city, hidden away from the dangers of the outside world. They filled this room with buildings and other living accommodations, including a large fountain or maybe a well in the middle of this room. This would act as a central gathering place for these people. But over many years, the water was slowly drained from the reservoir into a huge cavity below. The water continued to bore a hole, larger and larger, until eventually it created a massive sinkhole that would swallow this gathering place, leaving only the broken remains of its outer edges. These remains would later be used to cross this new hazard by both the explorers as well as Mario. By the time this collapse happens, these people have only ever known a dark and muggy life deep inside the earth. The only evidence that these people have of an outside world are the several stories passed down through generations, stories that had now become folk tales. But when this important room collapses, a huge underground lake is discovered, and gleaming down from the ceiling are several rays of light traveling all the way to this room from the sky above the surface. And swimming inside of this lake is a large aquatic mammal that this civilization reveres as an astral being. This lake quickly becomes the gathering place for the new religious activity of stargazing. These people lie in the waters staring up at the night sky in hope of achieving some kind of contact with the outside world. There also begins a practice in which symbols of these celestial bodies are carved on their doors, which is meant to represent their desired crossing into the world of the stars. While some continued to hone their abilities to draw power from the cosmos, others sought the surface by tunneling through the stone, and it was these people who found the location that we now know as the Metal Cavern. This was a tunnel with a river running through it that led directly to the outside world. Several brave pioneers left the cave through the waterfall, and only a few survived. But the outside was blindingly bright, terrifyingly loud. The miles of open space horrified these adventurers, many of which fled back into the caves to share what they had seen. Although these people now scorned this terrible outside world, they continued to worship the stars. They represented the purity beyond the chaotic outside world. But their discovery of this cave had another significant impact. Covering the walls were shimmering crystals made up of an element that the cave people had never yet seen. Using this new mineral in combination with the magics that the stars had bestowed upon them, they created a barrier, sealing off the entrance to the blinding nightmare of the outside world, encasing them once again in the darkness of Hazy Maze Cave. Some many years later, a room is being constructed in Peach's castle when a hole is drilled that leads into a strange cavern. A squad of explorers is sent to map out the cave and report back with anything that they had found. Throughout this process, they placed many signs to guide future expeditions. Some of these signs imply that there were casualties from the toxic maze, and even from the star beast Dory. But despite these hazards, they pushed onwards with their expedition, until something happened to them. After not returning when they were supposed to, a second group was assembled to go looking for them, but when they went to enter, there was now a strange seal on the entrance. Now there was only one man who could enter, the only one to embody enough star power to transcend the barrier. This little red guy called Mario. And perhaps these cave people spared Mario, as he held within him quite an incredible amount of star power. Maybe they saw him as a divine being. A divine, little, glitchy Italian being, all hopped up on star juice. But I wouldn't be so certain of your safety. Next time you're wandering around the ancient ruins of Hazy Maze Cave, you might want to watch your back. Matter of fact, I'm not so sure the castle is even safe. You never know when those subterranean stargazers might exact their revenge on the outside world. Yeah, all of that stuff I said, that's definitely probably true. Well, either way, I think I'll let those creepy cave guys have their cafe back. Or my cafe. I hope you enjoyed my unhinged overthinking of a cave in Mario 64. I appreciate you watching. Thanks.